Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you today back at my home Jesuit High School. You know, I taught high school for, 9 years altogether at different Jesuit schools around the country. And if I was a research scientist, the high school would be my laboratory, and my freshmen, hundreds of them every semester, every year, would be my lab rats. They have taught me a lot. But also, before I was a high school teacher, I was a prison chaplain. I worked for 3 years at the largest prison in the United States, the Cook County Jail in Chicago, that has 20,000 prisoners in it. And I also ministered on death row in Illinois. And believe it or not, a lot in common. Both populations are under an extreme amount of stress. They both are in terribly difficult social situations, and all of them are longing for freedom. In this environment, I've seen that religion matters, and being religious matters to all people, wherever you are, whatever you're up to. The problem is that religion or religious is a bad word in our culture today, often. Kind of like you go to parties, you don't talk about religion or politics, right? Religion, or being religious, is an instant turnoff in many places in our culture. As a theology teacher, even in our department, we have changed the name of the class from religion class to theology class, because religion is such a loaded term for young people as they come to our school and enter into this dialogue, into these classes. They assume immediately that they're going to be indoctrinated or conditioned somehow or converted to a completely foreign way of thinking. In fact, the people who do adopt the word religion pretty easily or religion pretty easily often do with a certain kind of violence, a certain kind of ownership that says, I'm in and you're out. This can be really destructive. But at Jesuit High School, we're working to do the exact opposite. For us, being religious is synonymous with community, with living in right relationship with each other. And so that's really what the project of Jesuit High School and all Jesuit schools are about, living in right relationship, as opposed to the unfortunate violence that can come with religious. Martin Luther King and Gandhi taught us that anytime we enter into the world of fundamentalism, anytime we enter into the world of extremism, these things can often lead towards violence. Fundamentalism is when we take a literal interpretation of rules or norms or laws and then impose them. Extremism, whether it's religious extremism or political extremism, anything that drives us to the edges, to the ends, whether right or left or whatever, pits one group against another. One group at the extreme says, we are right and you are wrong. Unfortunately, this often leads to violence because that other group that doesn't agree with me, that doesn't think the way I think, eventually, I get to a place, if I'm extreme enough, where I start to believe they need to be removed or radically converted or even departed, disappeared, disposed of. And this is really sad. For me as a theology teacher, I see religion as a beautiful, wonderful thing, a gift that give the next generations to help them build up their lives to be healthy, holy, and happy. And when they come to me as 14-year-olds in the classroom, they don't often look at religion like that. So here at Jesuit, we are working on that project of religious identity as a positive, beautiful, wonderful thing. And we do that by bringing students in through the gateway of faith, the gateway of spirituality, to understand that religion can be a beautiful thing for their lives, a positive, healthful thing. So we do this by following the example of the early Christians. The early Christians, for the first 300 years of existence, were a persecuted people, a population much like those in high school or in jail, under tremendous amounts of stress, under the threat of physical harm, under the confusion of the mystery that Jesus Christ left them in, a resurrected God. So we follow that example. And just as those first Christians banded together to support each other and share their lives together, we do that here at Jesuit High School. And I think we do it well. We share our lives intimately on retreats and in classrooms that provide safe places and structures for kids to be who they are and to think the way they need to think rather than the way we think they need to think. And so we follow those first Christians' environment who created these spaces where they shared their lives together. Often they physically lived together. Sometimes I think we should put bunks here in the theater. The theater group is here so much, they practically live at Jesuit. Same with the athletes. We provide a place that they actually love so much, they want to be here after hours. As somebody who spent 6 years living on this campus, it's amazing to me how they're here at all hours. That doesn't happen at every school. It's because they love this place and this community. And like the early Christians, who we know shared their meals together, the people that had brought for those who have not. This high school does the same thing, sharing its resources, sharing its literally food and things like the food drive. We create these environments that become safe for our next generation. Unfortunately, there are lots of people who think that they know the absolute truth, that their way is the right way and the only way. We see this often in our media and in the news. When we turn on any kind of news story, we see my way is the right way. Everybody else is wrong. We see it with religious extremist groups that claim for the whole group of people what they believe, often completely incorrectly. And so at Jesuit, we're helping to form our students' conscience, not to indoctrinate them into one particular way of thinking, but to learn how to think, learn how to be critical thinkers, how to look into their own hearts and form their own conscience and act from there. A beautiful thing has happened just yesterday. Pope Francis released a new document. It's called The Joy of Love. This is a friend of mine who's a theology teacher, and he teaches with this kind of joy all the time. This is what Pope Francis is talking about, the kind of love we need to be putting out into the world. And in this 256-page document that I have not read, he says that religious priests and others, like our students at Jesuit High School, need to be ministering to the world with love first, everything else second. Pope Francis said what our Jesuit High School students can already tell you, that black and white thinking does not serve the church, does not serve the human family, that we are called to be non-judgers, that it is our job to judge other people's station and places in life, that we are to welcome all into the church and into the human family. They can tell you, my students, that people who are divorced and remarried are 100% a welcome part of our community, the Christian community, and the church. There's no question for them. But for some of our older people, stuck in our dogmatic ways with rules and laws, we get bound up in this. A few years ago, a friend of mine came to me in crisis. She was upset and sad. Her parents had cut her off, cut her out of the family. She was the oldest sibling, and this was really upsetting for her, so I was talking with her about this. She had made the mistake of falling in love with somebody her parents didn't like. And she had also made the mistake of starting to pray with a group of people a couple of times a week that her parents didn't approve of. And so when she went to her parents saying, I'd really like to be able to go to Sunday night dinner, and I'd really like to be able to see Grandma and Grandpa at holidays. Is there something we can do? The answers her parents gave her were all religious ones. Couched in the language of religion, she was told, "You are not right. This is what we believe, and because you don't believe what we believe, you are wrong. And we need to exclude you." Well, if you're like me, you think that this does not sound like Christianity. Christianity is about loving our neighbors, doing good to those who persecute us, loving even our enemies, turning the other cheek. These aren't just simple platitudes that we throw around to make ourselves feel better. This is really how Christians should be living. They should be living these things every day. I'm very fortunate that I've got to see this in action at Jesuit High School. This is how our students live. They live in right relationship with each other. They live in community. I have a friend who's a dean at another nameless school, and we go out every once in a while and sit at the bar and talk. He always has lots more beer than me. And his stories of his high school are a lot more animated than mine at Jesuit. I can't ever remember seeing a student throw a punch at another one, or getting in all kinds of troubles that we see in other places. So what is it that makes Jesuit different? I believe it's this community. And it's because this community is not just founded on Christian values, but Ignatian values, which expands this thinking of the Pope, who is a Jesuit, formed by Ignatian values. St. Ignatius Loyola was a jerk. He was. Absolutely. If you had met him in your early life, you would not like him. Neither would I. I hope you wouldn't like him. Because he was a general in the military. He was a noble. 500 years ago in northern Spain, he would dress up in the finest clothes, right? And make everybody serve him. He was a womanizer and a gambler and a liar and a cheat, all these things. But he had a conversion experience. When a cannonball hit him in the leg and put him out his back for months and months at a time, his heart changed. Something happened. He became a different person. And that conversion experience has affected all of our lives. This school would not be here today without St. Ignatius's conversion. And the way our students think and act and live in community, as you saw with Zoe just a few minutes ago, would not be happening without St. Ignatius himself converting to taking vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, to becoming a holier person and founding a religious order that goes out to the far reaches of the world and works with the poorest of the poor. That's what our students are called to do, to be like St. Ignatius, to be like Pope Francis, to bring love to the farthest reaches of the world. And they do that through, as I said before, the gateway of faith and spirituality to reach this place of being religious. These terms are often used interchangeably in our culture today. As a theologian, it's maddening for me to read blogs that interchange faith, spirituality, and religion. They're very terms. It's like a scientist who watches people throw around terminology improperly. Faith is a trusting belief in a transcendent reality. Faith is about here, between my two fingers. It's about how we think and what we think about. Faith is an experiment. It's about the brain. If I think my mother loves me, that's faith. Because I can't prove it. There's no way to scientifically prove that my mother loves me. My kids fight me on this every time we talk about it. Oh, I know she does. She makes me cookies. I don't know. She could secretly hate you. They don't like that response. But there is no way to prove it. It's a conclusion that I've come to in my head that you can't convince otherwise. That's what faith is, a trusting belief in a transcendent reality. And we teach our kids that they can explore this in the classroom openly, by doubting sometimes, by questioning. That's okay. Spirituality, on the other hand, is about the heart. Spirituality is about how we feel. Spirituality happens here, not here. The definition of spirituality is a sense of wonder and awe. It's what moves us. It might be watching the sunrise at the beach, and we're connected to something deeper. It might be holding that baby niece or nephew or child, and a tear comes to your eyes. For me, it's flying down a mountain at 50 miles an hour on skis. That's the way I love to pray. That's when I see God the clearest sometimes. It might be sitting at a candle flickering in front of you in quiet contemplation and breathing. This is how God talks to us, through the world around us. St. Ignatius taught us this. God is in all things and communicates to us potentially in all things, through people and things and nature. That's spirituality. And as you have already come to the conclusion, all people have faith who believe in something that can't be proven. So when my students come to me as atheists or agnostics or, as very popular today, nuns, say you have faith because you're believing in things that can't be proven. And you have spirituality because you have a heart and you are moved by that heart. And the next move is to the nasty word religious. Religious is not that bad because it's about community. It's about hands. It's about who you grasp hands with. The word religion means to reconnect. To reconnect. The church teaches that religion connects us to four things. It reconnects us to ourselves. Ideally, when we're engaged in religious traditions, we look interiorly and we connect to the true parts of who we are. It reconnects us to God, the divine, through contemplation, meditation, and prayer. And religion reconnects us to our family and friends, the people closest around us, by calling us to be our best selves and live in true community. And religion reconnects us to the world, to nature, and all the people in it, to show us that we are not separate, that we are not apart. Together, we are all united. We are a part of something bigger. We are to live in right relationship with each other as community. And so that's what we do here at Jesuit High School. We teach our students that community is what is important, that right relationship will help everything good from it. Thank you very much.